This is Katherine Cespedes, and you are listening to Yogini from the Block, where we talk about taking spiritual practices and spiritual principles off of the yoga mat and into our real lives. You can listen to this bi-weekly podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, and anywhere that you catch your podcasts. Hello, this is episode 13. Titled Emotional Fitness, subtitled The Self-Awareness Muscle. This is Kathy, and I'm here with John Beathan, my wonderful producer.
Good generic time of the day.
So, here we are on episode 13, and I wanted to talk about emotional fitness. And my experience with getting here, with knowing that emotions are something that you even want to start working out, in my case anyway. For a majority of my life, I remember hearing, you got to get stronger. You need thick skin. You've got to grow up. You got to put your big girl pants on. And I remember when I heard those things, I would simply take all the feelings that I brought to the table and stuff them away somewhere. And
so what were the feelings?
So it depends. It depends on which story. It would be feelings of fear, feelings of sadness, feelings of inadequacy, feelings of fatigue. It would be these feelings where I don't know if I'm quite enough, or I don't know if I can do this, where I don't like something, where I don't like the way someone is treating me, where I don't like something. It's just I don't like it. So in those cases, it was, stick it out, toughen up. And in those cases, I felt like, wow, now I have to take all this that I just put on the table, and I was so vulnerable in telling you, and put it away because I need to get along my day. And almost feeling like now I've disturbed you and I've burdened you with my feelings. And for a long time, this is the reason why I was so angry. Because I was putting things away and things were coming up. Things were coming up and I didn't know what they were anymore. I couldn't tell sadness from frustration. I couldn't tell pure happiness with just putting a smile on my face because I had to. All these emotions just got blurred together, and I was having a hard time with really figuring out what it was. So for me, it was mostly college. By the time I got to college and I was afraid that there was a paper due in 2 weeks and I didn't know enough and my writing wasn't good enough. And I remember telling someone, like, I don't think I could do this. And they were like, you could do it. Just suck it up and do it. And I was like, all right. Feelings get put back in the drawer that they came out of. I don't know how you got out. I locked you up and here we go. It wasn't until maybe a year after I graduated that I was talking to the director of this non-for-profit in New York City. And it's called La Fraternidad de los Ángeles. So the Fraternity of Angels Incorporated, right?
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was talking to the director, and she basically said, we all think that there's a Pandora's box of things. And these are the Pandora boxes of feelings. These are the Pandora boxes of memories that we have stored away, and we keep stuffing it, and we're afraid to look at it. She said, don't be afraid to look at it. Go ahead and open it. Open it and see what's inside, because you might open it and butterflies pop out. You might open it and you see 1 or 2 rattlesnakes. And you know what? You'll just notice that there's 1 or 2 rattlesnakes in there. And your biggest fear is that it's going to be something that more than what you can handle. But I promise you that you can, because if you put it in there, you can handle it. So here's where my work begins with emotional fitness. Because she had me go through this process of writing down everyone in my life on a piece of paper. Everybody. She had me write everybody's name fold it up, and put it in a hat. At the time, I don't think I owned a hat. So I probably put it in a bowl, right? Yeah, I definitely put it in like a huge salad bowl. And I spent the whole day by myself. I didn't tell anyone about it. I spent the whole day by myself, and I went through the bowl, and I pulled out a name, and basically she had me go through everyone in my life and forgive them for whatever happened, and then ask for forgiveness for whatever I had done to hurt them. So not only was there a recognition that you may or may have not done something to me, but there was the awareness that I may or may have not done something to hurt you. So I spent probably 14 hours crying by myself. And by the end of it, I was like, wow, that's it. That was it. But I wish I could be like, oh, and then after that, there was rainbows everywhere. After that, I started noticing more of my feelings, right? So that was just like phase 1, part 1 of understanding what I was feeling and what emotions I had. So there were some emotions there was a lot of emotions actually, of anger, of resentment. There was a lot of resentment in there. There was fear. There was a lot of blame. Like, it's all your fault. And then when I would, say, I forgive you because this and this and this and that, then I had to turn around and be like, oh man, now I have to ask for forgiveness because I must have done something because of those feelings of resentment and anger and blame, right? Because in my experience, we treat someone based on the experiences that we've had of them, right? So if we feel like we are resentful of someone, we're going to treat them with, even though we try not to, it's there. There's like this underlying current of resentment that's happening. So you're not acting in pure joy, in pure love, in pure gratitude. Yeah. There is this underlying resentment that is living there. So that was step 1. Right? Was just understanding those things. And then what happened was very interesting because I think I've mentioned this in past podcast, but I literally felt like a feather in a thunder, like a tornado. Like I was just flying around, like the feelings were all out. Everything started to hurt me. Like it was interesting. It was very interesting. So what I did after that was that I went down all my feelings, like anger, happiness, sadness. I went down all of them as much as I could think of. And then I spent 7 days living in each one of those. So what does it feel like to...
You spent...
A day in anger.
Yeah.
A day in sadness.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did that. I did that. And it was interesting because I realized the day that I lived in anger, everyone, because I was living in New York City at the time, everyone was pissed. Like the whole world.
Everybody around you?
Yeah. Yeah. So everyone was angry. People were like arguing. The day that I was sad, all I could see was sadness. And I went through the emotions that made me the most uncomfortable first. And then the day that I decided to be happy, oh my goodness, hallelujah, because it was a long week. The day that I decided to be happy, oh, that sounds like a great name of a book. But the day that I decided to be happy, everyone around me was happy and it was winter. But for some reason, it was the most beautiful winter in New York City that I could possibly imagine. Like, my skin looked great. I was happy. Like that day at work was easy breezy. Like it changed everything. So then I started realizing how important these feelings are. Not only the happiness, not only the gratitude, but everything, really feeling them, really allowing them to be there.
To live on their own.
Yeah. Yeah. And understand why I'm feeling that way. So emotional fitness is not just saying when you're angry, it's okay to, cuss out the world, because that's just not nice. We don't need that, right? It's really about saying that you're angry, and it's okay that you're angry, but take responsibility for your anger, right? Because that I had to do that afterwards, where I was like, today is a day angry, and I see that you're angry. So I'm going to take responsibility for my anger, but you're going to have to take yours, right? So there's taking a responsibility of your feelings that happened out of that. And furthermore is where I discovered that your thoughts and your feelings are so connected. So sometimes after that week, I forgot about it. And then I started reading more material. Like, it was like anything I can get my hands on. Elephant journal. It was whatever I can get my hands on. I was reading, the yoga journal. And I read that our thoughts, influence our feelings. And so when you're feeling happiness, you're typically thinking happy thoughts. When you have sadness, you're typically thinking sad thoughts, and so on and so forth. So there was a huge key for me there, where I was like, okay, I am feeling this way. I am thinking these thoughts. And for probably a few years after that, it was kind of, I allowed that. And so here's where I want to mention that there is this thing that we call, mind my language, but it's called resting bitch face, right? And it's almost like...
Say that again, it's what?
It's resting bitch face.
Okay.
Where, yeah, like you're like not doing anything, like you're online at the supermarket, or you're online at like the mall, and you look like you're about to fight somebody, like you look like you smelled something really bad.
Oh my
like,
God, what are you thinking?
Exactly. And I realized that I had that all the time. All of the time. And people were afraid to talk to me because I had this RBF, right? So that was another indicator where I was like, wow, my face is telling you what I'm thinking. Not only is it the energy around me, it's exactly how I'm looking at you. That is making you uncomfortable, because I'm thinking really uncomfortable things. Probably, how am I going to pay my rent? I can't believe she said that to me. I can't believe they were talking about that to me, or whatever that thought was. So emotions have become this huge indicator to what I am thinking. Later, to find out that your thoughts create your reality. Right? So now I'm at CSL, Centers for Spiritual Living, that teach the philosophy of science of mind. And I'm like, okay, that makes so much sense why I was so miserable, is because I was thinking crazy things about how I couldn't afford, how I couldn't do, how I was so miserable at my job, how I pretty much disliked everyone and anything. So the universe was basically treating me in that same way. They were like, okay, you dislike it. We're going to give you more things that you dislike. Because that's what you're calling forth. That's what you're giving your energy to. That's apparently what you want. Right? So now we've talked about this too. There are times where I'm really like just sad or angry or whatever that feeling is. And I give myself 3 days to feel that feeling. Right. So we've talked about that. Yeah. And through this podcast, I've outgrown some of these thoughts or some of these routines that I have. And I discovered and I learned that any emotion that we feel is triggered by something that has happened outside of us. And typically after 16 seconds or so, because it releases, let me backtrack a little bit. Once you are feeling anger, disgust, fear, any of those lower vibration energies that make you feel like not good, right? These are not good feelings. There is a chemical that is released in our bodies. So I was like, see, that makes sense why I wanted to feel funky for 3 days. But no, it doesn't, because it only lasts for 16 seconds. So anytime after that, we're basically staying in this loop and we're keeping ourselves there.
Yeah. And if I may, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, known for writing the 5 stages of death and dying, said, you hang on to it. Her time was 17 seconds. And after that, it becomes unfinished business. Wow. Yeah.
And that makes sense because after 17 seconds, the chemicals that have been released in your body have already like dissipated. Like it gets released and then, your blood circulation kind of carries that out and it turns into toxins that will leave your body in one way, shape, form, or another.
And then our mind makes meaning of it.
Right.
And hangs on to it.
So then our minds create a loop pattern where what it's doing is that it's fixating on that chemical. So now we've got this thought and we think about it. And then we get another thought that feeds that same feeling. And then another thought that feeds that same feeling. So now we are feeding these emotions and we stay in these places. And thus, I fed my body anger and hate and fear for 3 days each time that they showed up. And I allowed that. And for me, I can't say that I'm angry at it because it was a time that I needed to recognize what I was feeling because for me, I had shoved them away in a box for such a long time. And so that was me honoring these feelings. At this point, I literally allow myself, I close my office door, I have my little temper tantrum, and then I look at my seat and I ask myself, are you done? 'Cause I'm done. I have things to do. So together we can do this. 'Cause it's also not judging, right? We talked about not shooting on yourself. Not judging because we are feeling these feelings. It's perfectly natural. We are human. We have human emotions. And how long do you want to stay there?
Long enough to get it.
Right.
And move on.
Right. So for me, what I do is that, and we've talked about that, is that I meditate in the morning. RPM. Right? So you rise, you pee, meditate. You get right into that meditation cycle because when you first wake up, you're still in this this transition where the veil of this other realm, the spiritual realm, and the human realm where we are is so thin. It's so thin that we haven't yet carried through the funk from yesterday, if there is any. And Abraham Hicks talks about this a lot. But not only does she prepare herself when she wakes up, she prepares herself for when she goes to sleep.
Right.
So this is the routine. I haven't mastered it yet. I'm still working on it, right? So right now I am really working on my morning routine. My morning routine to set my day up. My morning routine to prepare myself for success. My morning routine to say, I am more than this body. I am more than this world. I am more than this realm. I am spirit. I am a part of this divine intelligence that knows everything, that flows in all things, that is in all things, and recognizing it and feeling it and living there.
And that's a nice emotion to have, huh?
Oh my goodness.
I'll take that.
It definitely puts things into perspective. Because for me, what I have noticed is that throughout the day, come 2 or 3 o'clock, someone will come in and they'll say something to me and it'll really peeve me where I'm like, why would you even think that? Where did that even come from? And so I have to put it upon myself to say, well, that's their experience. I have to tell myself these things. I have to remind myself, I do a midday meditation to remind myself because I know that at 2 o'clock, it's almost like we forget. I forget. Halfway through the day. I meditated in the morning, but I need a little bit more because it's just like when we eat. It's just like when we work out. It's exactly like that. Thus, I called it emotional fitness because I feel like anything that is tied together with nutrition and fitness and working out in your body, we can see those results. Emotions we can't see very much, but we can see the result of our thoughts. Right? So emotional fitness is really about keeping a routine in your day, in your week, in your life, so that we can properly honor the feelings that we're feeling, so that we can properly move on once we are done with that feeling and it has served us, and so that we can properly respond, not react, but respond to the conditions that are happening around us. Because there are so many times where, at least right? Something will happen to me and I would have reacted right away. It doesn't matter what you say. I'm already like, just get out of my office, just close the door. Like, I don't care how you get out of here. And now I have to think about it, and I have to tell myself, well, that's their experience, right? That's their experience. But how can I serve you? Like, how can I talk to you in a way where I can honor you, continue to honor you, and you may continue to honor me? How can we properly solve this, right? Because with us going into the lack mentality of whatever the circumstance is, we're only fueling and feeding the emotion of negativity. And that's not going to help anybody. So emotional fitness not only works for us individually, it works in community. It works for career. It works for especially relationships, right? If I can take responsibility for my feelings and listen to you and yours, then we can have a proper conversation and fix whatever is happening. Not that anything has to be fixed, but we can probably do this better. We can communicate better. But we can't communicate if I don't know what I'm feeling, and if I don't know the thoughts that I'm thinking, and if I'm just reacting because there are sub-thoughts happening in my brain that I haven't checked yet. And we talk a lot about, I feel like I see anyway, a lot of on Instagram or Facebook, social media, there's a lot of fitness models. A lot of fitness models. And sometimes I look at them and I'm like, damn, you look good. You must work out all the time. You must. And we don't ever take the time to think about our emotional health. What does that look like? Because we can't see it. But we can definitely recognize it in what our world looks like, in what we're constantly talking about. Are you talking about your progression, or are you talking about gossip? Are you talking about your vision and your dreams, or are you talking about the next, I don't know, celebrity relationship?
Or some complaint.
Yeah. So basically, are you talking about something that is important in your life, or are you talking about something that does not serve you? And so these are the times where we can recognize our emotional fitness. So coming away from this, I really do want to promote self-awareness. Self-awareness. What are you thinking? And how are you responding to it? In any conversation, it could be a great, wonderful conversation. Also taking emotional inventory at those points. What are you thinking? And how are you responding to it?
And to me, responding is a word that is very close to responsibility. Being responsible. Taking responsibility for your emotions.
Right. Because a reaction to me is almost like it just happened.
Right.
Right? Just like you stub your toe and you grab your foot.
You're not taking inventory.
Right. You're just reacting.
Yeah. Well, that's the safety consciousness thing we were talking about earlier.
So then would you say that the heart consciousness would be this responding? Because you're taking that extra step in thinking about it and then, and then responding in a way that helps, serves.
Right. Because you're choosing how you want to respond.
Right. And this isn't something that's You jump out of bed and that's it. You are emotional responsible and you are emotionally fit. It takes time, just like anything. Just like it takes time to put in a workout routine. It takes time. And a big component, a huge component for me is meditation. Mm-hmm. Whatever that looks like. 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the afternoon, 5 minutes before bed. It makes the world of a difference because now you can shut off the loops that are happening. Take inventory of what you're feeling and then notice what serves you. And as you progress, you can move it up from 5 minutes to 10 minutes to 15 minutes. I would highly suggest meditate at least once in a day. And if you think that you don't have time, you should meditate for half an hour. Because...
What?
Yeah, man. If you think you have no time in your day at all, you need the most meditation. And that's what I noticed. The more busy I was, the more meditation I needed in that day. Because... And this is, I'm just going to say it. Because there is, for me, a divine intelligence that is so much more capable and available to do the things that I desire in a better way than I could imagine. And so when I meditate, I allow for this divine intelligence to work through me. I allow this divine intelligence to bring this, to orchestrate this beautiful scenario where what I'm looking for is also looking for me. And when I meditate, I remove myself and get out of my way. Because I have now said, I trust you. I know that you are so much better at getting this done. And I know that you work through me. And so I am going to take emotional responsibility. And I'm going to shut it all off. Just like our laptops, just like our cell phones. You know how you have to restart your cell phone every so often? Hello. We need to restart ourselves. And this is what happens. Like, the cell phone doesn't just make phone calls. We make those phone calls because we can make those phone calls and use our apps so much better than the phone could do it itself. Spirit works through us, and spirit could work through us much more better than we could work on our own. And all that takes is emotional intelligence. All that takes is some emotional fitness. All that takes is a routine. And so meditation is the biggest shift, has been the biggest shift in my life. And you don't have to start off in an hour like I did. It's only because it took, well, think about it. I started doing this 2012, I graduated. So it's been a little while. I've been on my way for a little while, and you can definitely shortcut all those things and not live every emotion. and really just start on that meditation. It has made a world of a difference to me. And I would love to know if you meditate and what you use. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for showing up. I appreciate you for the individual that you are. Thank you.